Hey Woodturners, I'm Captain Eddie Castle and welcome to my shop. Today I've got a great little project. I posted a picture on Facebook. Oh, here's a picture. Now this was a little jar I did one day. I was just fooling around. I had that block of Cocobolo back here and decided, oh, what the heck, let's go to work on it. So I turned something, and what I turned was a nice little jar. But it's hard to see is that with the right finish, the right sanding, the total lack of any tool marks or scrapes or anything else, and then a good CA finish, it looks like it's dipped in glass. And the piece just lends itself to say, oh yeah. And it can say, oh yeah. So if you like to see how it's done, all you need to do, you know the drill, is watch. If you don't have a piece of Cocobolo, any hardwood would work. Now, you can use a hardwood that's got a lot of oil, and you got to understand, when you get it sanded just right, the chatoyance, the reflectivity is going to be there. It's going to sparkle when you turn it. When you walk across the room, it's going to be like a pretty girl. It's going to wink at you. Well, it's like the pretty girl you wanted to wink at you. I understand. But let's get back to the piece. I have some Cocobolo wood that someone gave me. It really wasn't labeled Cocobolo. They got it in and weren't too sure about it, but it had some beautiful colors, so they called it extra Cocobolo. It was nice. I got a slab of it. Oh, here it is. They called it whatever bolo. Yeah. Well, I bought a chunk of it. It was 8 inches by right under 2 inches proper thick. All sealed up in wax. It's ready to turn. Now, my first step was knock the corners off the outside. Make it 8-sided. If you can make it round, make it round on your bandsaw. Okay? But this cuts hard, so 8-sided is fine. Either way, you just don't want to chunk up a block of wood with 4 big fat points sticking out there, because when you make contact, if you do it wrong, it's going to be thump, 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 and off the lathe it's coming. Now, let's talk about putting it on the lathe. I don't like to give up wood for holding wood. If I was going to hold this piece on the lathe, I'd have to either put a socket or a tenon. And then eventually, I was going to be fighting it. So I'm going to start off right away putting a piece on a glue block. Just like that. Put it on a glue block. You want to see how that's done? Let's go. For glue blocks, I like mahogany. It's dense enough, soft enough, but pliable enough, easy enough to work with. Do not use a big, wide, open grain wood that will fracture or crack. Don't use plywood. And let's think about it. The piece you want to turn, the art piece, is going to depend on this. Now, first thing I do is I put it between centers. You can see the mark here where it's between the center. And then I spin it and put this tenon on it. And this tenon size is sized using my gauge. I don't want it really big to fit in those jaws, because I want the jaws to grab it really well. So I'm going to get as close to the small dimension as I can. So there's my dovetail. Once I have my dovetail in, then I'm going to put the dovetail fits in these smooth jaws. These are one-way profile jaws. They're smooth on the inside, and they have a definite dovetail that matches that dovetail. I would put it in there. Now, we're still pulling with the glue block, okay? Because this is the basis of our piece. I have it in there, and now I'm going to make it ready to hold the piece. It's not ready yet, so we're just going to bring up the center, bring up the tool. I've got speed now at about 1500 RPMs. It's not that critical. will make the face smooth. And then I'm going to get rid of the inside. I'm going to put a depression there. I don't need this thing to be that big to hold this piece. Okay, it will hold on the ring that I'm putting on the outside. Then I need this ring to be flat from one side to the other. I like using a skew because I can get a sight line across the blade and know that I'm going all the way across. I got to be flat all the way across. I want to check it with something that's good and straight. And yes, I would have good bearing for the full width of that all the way across. You with me? Okay. I don't want to leave you behind now. You give me a holler if I lose you. Now let's chunk the block up. Put the block in a lathe. I scraped the wax off. Then I took it over to my core sander and sanded the back of it. I have it flat. I have the center mark right there. You can see from when I laid out the center. And I'm going to put it on this glue block with a flexible CA or a medium thick CA or a thick CA. But I want a good grab, a good bond. So the bead of CA goes around it. Get that on the center and then slowly bring up my tailstock and ever so slightly twist until I'm sure it's flat to flat, and then add a little pressure. Just a little. 5-10 pounds is all you need. You crank this puppy down real hard, you squeeze all the glue out and you got nothing. Now we let it cure. Cure. Because I'm using a medium thick product, I did accelerate it a little bit and I let it cook a little bit. Now, you may think, that doesn't look like the piece he had. It's not. This is the one I glued up just a minute ago. But I don't want to wait the 15 or 20 minutes before I go to the next step. The next step is, I've got my tailstock locked down, I've tightened it up. I'm in here, I'm at about 2,000 RPMs. I'm going to start knocking some corners off and getting this thing in shape. Between centers, key. Don't miss that. As often as I can, I will turn between centers. Not a hero, just a wood turner. Light cuts across the face. Not quite got all the flat spots out of it, but we're getting close and we can see this thing has got some gorgeous color. So I'm going to spin this round and then we'll lay it out. You're probably going to ask me, what do I mean lay it out? Well, I need to determine what I'm going to have here. So I'm going to back off my tailstock a little bit just so I can see the face of the piece. This is going to be the lid. I already had a lid made. I made a bunch of these for one of the nighttime programs. I'm going to check the inside dimension of where it fits in the recess. Okay. Then I'm going to put that number or that measurement on the top up here because that's the flat spot that I want. I'm trying to get where you can see and I can see. Get the idea. That's about what we're looking to accomplish. me get it up in here. That will be the hole in here. Now I'm going to cheat to the inside until I get it hollowed, and then I'll make it to the right. I'll bring it out to the right size. Why? It's easy to cut this stuff. It's a bitch to glue those little bitty shavings back on and make them look good. Just is. And that's a technical term. With this back in place, you cut that. I have an opportunity to turn between centers. So I'm going to bring this back and keep it here. And what I want to do at this point is, I know that's going to be the face, and I need about a 1/4 inch for it to sit. So let's just say, okay, that's the face, and that's the 1/4 for it to sit. My top has got to come around, and then I decided I'm just going to go straight down the sides a little bit, put a little curve to it, but not a whole lot. But this is the time to do that while it's between centers. 3/8 inch Ellsworth. Go ahead and ask the question, why don't I use carbides? Because you're in my shop with me the way I work every single day of the week. This is what I work with every single day of the week. It's a Ellsworth with an adversarial relief grind on the back of it. And this 3/8 tool is my favorite tool. Knock this little fat and little corner off. Now, to make this cut, go in with the curve vertical, the flute vertical, roll it over. Look how fine those shavings are coming off. Before we get too started in today's project, got to mention that this is brought to you by Big Eye Productions. The website, right here, www.eddiecastelin.com. If you're using carbide cutters in your turning tools, or you're looking to get into them, you need to check out this site. Now, measure the cutter. Take your tool, measure the width of it, it's in millimeters, and then compare it. Don't worry about all the rest of it. My cutters will go on those bars. My screws might not be comparable, but you've got a screw, and there is a hardware store. You want a good deal on cutters? Most of my cutters sell for less than 1/2 of the price of anybody else. So if you're interested, check me out, www.eddiecastelin.com. Time to get turning. Now that I have the outside curve up and across, and I'm pretty sure this is where I want the outside to be. I'm not dead flat on this. I got a nice little roll. I don't think I have any flat spots. I'm going to take a scraper and finely scrape this to get it freshened up and clean from compressed woods. Because I don't compress the wood with my scraper. I lightly take the top off. That opens everything up. When I start sanding it, it's a fresher piece of wood that way. To give you a better idea how this scraper works out, I'm a little negative rake on the top. I just took the corner down a little bit. But you can see I got a fresh grind all the way around it because I use a jig to set that platform the exact same position every time. So one pass across the stone and I have a fresh new edge. And I got a really heavy wire up on that top corner, or a burr. And that's what I'm going to use to peel off the little fibers here. Gives me a fresher piece of wood. See what's coming off? Simple sketch. Can't get any more simple than that. Just be on a caveman wall someplace. Alright. This is our block. This is exactly what we have. We have grain running across, and we've just turned it. But when I cut this block and I rub that bevel right here, some of these strands were bent over or laid over, and some were cut right off. When I rubbed that bevel, because the bevel compresses wood. But when I came back with that scraper, pardon me, and cut like this, I took all those points off, all of them to the same degree, and I freshened up that whole surface to the same degree. For years, I did, just like other guys did, is tell you that I can cut so good, you can start sanding at 400. Boy, was I wrong. I wasn't cutting that good. I could cut this smooth with that Ellsworth. Just make a nice pass and clean it up real smooth and slick. But the whole time, I've been pushing on the bevel for guidance. And while I'm pushing on the bevel, I'm just compressing these fibers down and I'm burnishing the piece. Now, what I've burnished or pushed down is going to move or change. As time goes on, and believe it, time goes on, so it will look like a dull spot on a finish. It will move, it'll get prickly, it'll just not be as beautiful as you want it to be because the fibers are compressed. So, I've learned in the past years that the best way to do this is get them all the same. Scrape it. Take it. Phil Irons is a great one from England. Well, Phil's not that great, but he's okay. But he showed that if you scrape it uniformly from top to bottom with a nice clean pass, and he's not rubbing a bevel and he's not getting aggressive with it, he just takes off the outer coating. Doesn't change the shape, takes off the outer coating. Then when he starts sanding at 80, 100, 120, 150, 180, 220, right on up the line. Don't skip a section, just sand between them. And then as you're going up, the entire surface is changing shape uniformly. There are no more dull spots. There are no spots that soak up more finish than the others. There's no spots that get prickly later on. They all get to be about the same. Okay? Now, we're going to hollow, take some meat out of here and start shaping this up. Because the outside, besides sanding, it's a puppy. It thing done. Thing really done. Now we got to just find the remote. Again, with our target in mind, I'll show you something. Our target is this for the lid. It'll fit into a cup. And if I leave that ring right where it's at, right there, then I can always shape it up a little bit more to get this lid to fall in. Before I go too far, I will do some test fits. Now, this wood reminds me a lot of a piece I had called Para King wood. And it moved a little bit later on. Not a lot, just a little. But enough to mess up the design because I didn't let it breathe. So I'm going to put a hole in the center. I use my shop-made hole in the center tool. You don't have one of these, you're going to need to make one. 3/8 inch drill bit, make a handle, put a piece of pipe on it for a furrow, find you a washer of some kind for a depth gauge, or just put tape on it like I do, and drill the center out of the piece. It's easier to work with if there's no center. I adjust my my center. This is my exact center finder, and I want to go through the center. So I want to make that hole to where that drill bit will fit right into it. What I'm talking about. Now the drill bit goes in, it doesn't wobble around. Drop the tool rest out and slowly feed it in. It will be straight down the center. You got it? You got it. See how simple that is? Hollowing can be done about a dozen different ways. A simple bowl, I'm going to go ahead and start taking the center out using this little multi-tool. And you see, without a center there, I can push right on into it. I can take a fingernail gouge. An Ellsworth. And because I don't have a center, I don't get that flip around at the end. And I'm also not guessing at where the bottom is. Another way to hollow. This is my captive bar hollowing system. Uses a 1/2 inch square bar. Uses a 1/4 inch square carbide cutter with little nose put on it. It has a tool rest with a captive bar on top. This holds the tool from flipping side to side, so you're not trying to fight the movement side to side. It gives it a good stable platform to go in and out and do some cutting. And this is a really simple hollowing device. Oh yeah, are you catching it? I'm over there cutting. I shouldn't be over there. I should be over here. Let me explain that, Lucy. Most folks think that the only way to cut and turn is on this side, over here. And to do that, I have to be bending over, looking at that hole, trying to line it up and engaging it. When over there, I'm looking right at what I'm cutting. I'm standing back here with both feet firmly on the floor. I'm not fighting anything, but I'm hollowing out some wood. Now, if your lathe can go in reverse, this is a way to do this. If you have a jet mini lathe that's got a variable speed motor on it, I can give you a sketch on how to build a little switching kit to make it go in reverse. And it costs you under $10 to put together. I can't put it together, but I can tell you what it goes into it, give you the sketch. Now, I'm going to continue hollowing on that side. You know, the only downfall about that is later on when I come to clean it up, I'll forget to put it back and forward. That's just a technical error. Once the hollowing is done, and that feels really good in there, no bumps or wrinkles or anything, then I'll be ready to fit the lid. Okay? Now remember, that's a finished surface. So if you got tears or whatever, you need to go in with a scraper. You can go in with something like a 3/8 inch round and clean it up. And you'll end end up with a really good finish, don't put your finger in when it's spinning. Yeah, that's much better. Finish surface. We have the inside scraped to a pretty good finish. We have the outside to a good finish. I need to put this lid in. Now, you can make a lid similar to this, but not with that rose pattern on it. Fairly simple, and you can do it on your regular lathe. This is a piece that I turned on my regular lathe. I played around with the prismatic effect of it a little bit, but this would work just as well. Our goal is to get this piece in. I'm going to stay back a little bit from where it's supposed to go, and I'm going to go fairly shallow in the beginning. Uh-oh, did you catch it? I forgot to put it back and forward. I could easily cut over there, but that's shallow. I'm safe at that point because the lid will not fit in, so I can clean up some, get some water out the way. Opportunity time once again. I'm nowhere near the right size. You see? Right? I have to take another 1/16 off. But if I want to go back inside and do any work, if I came up with a ridge right there, I see a little ridge that I want to get rid of. Now's the time to do it. You don't want to wait till later, because I don't want to be bearing against this edge later on. It only took a moment or two to go back and get rid of those tears or scratches. Get them out of here with 180 grit paper. If you see it now, coming through the finish, you will see it later. You can't hide it. It's going to be there. Now, it's a good thing to stop halfway through the finish. Take a good hard look at the piece and see if there's any areas that require a little bit of concentration, a little dressing. See if there's something that's burned or torn or otherwise discolored. Get rid of it now. This is where I said things will change. I'm going to go back to the Siasoft, and I'm going to start with 320. See that? But I'm going to make an addition to it. Water. I'm going to go and wet sand this piece for a little bit. Now, if you think I'm going to take the chance of hurting my lathe, I'm not. I do know where the water runs away from here at this situation, that it will not hurt the lathe. If you're working with the mini jet and the motor's underneath, protect it. Put a cookie sheet. Kitchen's full of them. Some aluminum foil down there. Wax paper, whatever, to catch the drips in the water. But let me tell you the difference this is going to make. This is going to raise the grain, allow you to cut more, and be your first step to a really great finish. We will do this with 320, 400, and 600. And then we're going to start applying finish. And between these grits, we need to clean the material. Get all the stuff off of it. Why? That raised a big rock, size of a brick or a boulder. It's still on there. When I put this one on, which is a 400, and I find that rock, I'm going to scratch that into the surface. Then I'm going to change to the 600. And when I find that rock, I'm going to scratch it into the surface. I'll never get rid of the scratches. So you clean between coats, between grits. And yes, there is a nice even line from here all the way across my shop. I stopped wet sanding 6 minutes ago, and I dried this with a paper towel. Just with the lathe running, dried it off. Then I'll let it sit for a few moments. It is dry. Got a little marking on the inside, but this thing is ready to go. Now let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put 2 good coats of sealer on it, and my sealer is here. What I got to do? There we are. Deft Lacquer Sanding Sealer. Ace Hardware store can get it for you. You can't find it at the blue box or the orange box store. They don't have it. They phased it out. They still sell some Deft products, and they tell you to put it over the top of something made by Minwax, which is their now sealer of choice. Except the Minwax sealer clearly states is for polyurethane coatings, and this isn't a polyurethane coating. I put it in a little squeeze bottle. You can see it's got the solids in it, so it's cloudy. I also cut it by I put 2 ounces of the sealer, 2 ounces of lacquer thinner. So this is 50-50 or half and half. I think it's 50-50 rather than half and half. Blue shop towel, never a rag. Nice smooth coat. Don't forget, you have to do the inside, because we're going to finish the inside just like the outside. In 5 minutes, we'll apply another coat. I'm wrapping up the second coat. I waited a few minutes for it to flash off. It flashes off pretty quick. I've got the second coat on now. A little dry here on the bottom, so add a little to it. I'm often asked, why do I cut the sealer 50-50? Because if not, with wood spinning and putting sealer on the wood, you'd build up the solids too fast. It would gum and stack and give you an irregular finish. So use something that's disposable, the lacquer thinner, to break it down and move it. I now lightly buff the finished piece with an 800 grit Scotch-Brite pad. This just breaks the surface of the sealer down a little bitty bit. Takes the slick off of it. And I get to take a good look at the sealer and the finish and what it could look like or should look like when it's all done. Here's the deal. If you don't have a good coat of finish on, a sealer on this, your finish will come out blotchy. That's it. Not a game changer, just your finish won't come out looking as good as you want. Now let's start the CA finish. I've done several programs on this finish, the CA finish, and I'll get an email or a note or whatever, a phone call from a guy yesterday. Cap, I did your CA finish, and when I sprayed the accelerator on the piece, it got cloudy. Another guy, Cap, mine's blotchy all over the place. Oh, by the way, I can't find that sealer, so I didn't use it. Here's the deal. This finish has got to be followed step by step, procedure by procedure, in order to obtain what I obtain. Crystal clear, glass-like finish. And it's not difficult, but pay attention to some of the warnings. But first we're going to clean the piece overall by using the accelerant. Now the easy thing is to spray it on there and wipe it off. It ain't easy. It's not supposed to be easy. We're going to spray it on a piece of the blue shop towel and then wipe it. Why didn't we spray it on? Because the product that's in this accelerator, you don't want to have a buildup of in any particular spot on the piece. That'll start the cloudiness down the road. But it's just that simple to spray it on a pad and then wipe it on. I use these blue shop towels. Get them at Home Depot. They soak up and waste less CA than a regular paper towel. And you do know the rule. The only rags that ever come to this lathe are the ones I wear on my back. No rags. And this is by far the best I've come up so far. Then with EMO2, I'm going to show you this in a minute from Starbond. EMO2 is the finish I'm using. Speed, about 600 RPMs. Just smooth enough to have it passing in front of you. Blue pad, little CA. Now if you hesitate or lose it, it's going to get sucked inside, just like that did. But that's one coat. Now you throw that piece of tissue away and you get a fresh one. No recycling, no one side, two sides. I've finished a whole bowl with 3 shop towels. You waste more than that when you do a bowl with a different product. Again, CA. Did you see it? I'm going to move you next time. A few seconds have passed. I had to readjust the camera. A little bit. Doing it all on one piece is kind of tricky. So I'm going to have to figure that I'm going to go inside and put 3 coats on the inside. I've now applied 3 coats on the outside, 3 coats on the inside. I waited about 30 seconds since I stopped the lathe. I'm now going to accelerate this with the accelerator. Now notice I didn't spray the accelerator directly onto the piece. That is the #1 positive absolute no-no. I am ready to sand. I will now go to 600 grit Soft paper or silicone carbide. This product is extremely hard. H-A-R-D. Hard as nails. So you don't want to use old paper, you don't want to use worn paper. If it's really worth it, you want to use fresh paper. and you're just knocking the ridges off, okay? That's all you're looking to do. Just knock the ridges down. There are ridges. You cause them when you put the finish on. If you get some high ridges, you have to stop the machine and cross them to get rid of them. Now you can't add in between the ridges. You're just going to stack the glue on top of the ridges, make the ridges higher, deeper, and harder to work with. We have sanded it. We have removed ridges that we put on. See the accelerator going back on the pad again? Clean the inside. We're going to clean the outside. That's what this accelerator does. Now cleaned it up, took all the dust off of it, and got it ready to accept another batch of finish. To do that, we go right back to the blue paper towel, a couple of drops, see it? Now about this point you normally lose a glove if you fool around and pull it through. And don't try this without a glove on. Super glue in this viscosity making contact with skin can burn a hole in your finger. It can hurt you. It can bond you to stuff. You're looking at, I have sanded it to 400 dry, went back and wet sanded 320 400. Then I splashed on 2 coats of sealer. Had some pretty good shape. Now, when I was fooling around touching it, when I had that stuff on the bottom, I left a couple of marks on the side of super glue on it. That only means that I have to remove those marks and recoat that area. That gives me a second blink at looking at lines and ridges on that area also. So with some 800 grit, I would do a little orbital sanding and look for the high points and ridges on it and work those out. And they will show, because you see them right there. This step adds about 5 minutes to the piece, but it also adds an insurmountable you're looking at. I sanded this to 320 400 dry, then 320 400 wet, and now I've splashed 2 coats of sealer on it, and I'm coming back getting ready to retouch up my CA. I found a couple of fingerprints on this surface from when I was handling it, and I transferred the glue from here to here. So now's my chance to go back and look for lines, wrinkles, ridges, and they are very minute, but they do come through, and you'll have to buff them out later. Well, now you got a chance to sand them out, and it adds a lot of value to the piece to get rid of these lines and ridges. And remember, when you tell them what kind of finish it is, start with the words super glue. You got them hooked. They won't move. I sanded the ridges out. Now remember, we haven't put any CA on the bottom of this piece yet. So with the sanding and the cleaning we've done, it's time to take the accelerant spray it on a little piece of paper towel and clean where we're going with the next finish. This removes the dust, preps the surface, gets everything in an even, happy tone. Then we start up with the CA. This time we're going to do the exact same thing we did before. Nice even passes. You don't get to rub it in. I'm gonna warn you about that. Even passes on the pad. Okay, that was the finish. It dries so quick that if I tried to backtrack to rub it in or take out a ridge, I would just adhere to the piece. That's why I'm wearing these gloves. I don't want to stick to it. And that's not white, that's just reflection of light. You see the reflection of light on that edge? That's 3 coats. I'm going to put 9 coats on this total. While I'm doing the coats, I want to show you something else. I just wrapped up the 9th coat, and now I'm going to do the last sanding, and then I'm going to stop the machine and look for any ridges that I may have. And if I have any ridges, I'm going to cross sand them a little bit to knock them down. As I said earlier, you cannot add glue to this finish to make the ridges go away. The glue you add will not go to the bottom of the ridge, it will go to the top. And the ridges will just get deeper. So a little oscillating sanding helps a lot. If you have a little problem cutting with this fine paper at that, you can always wet it and come in with a little bit of wet sanding to cut the ridges. You can't hurt it. It's sealed in plexiglass. Almost. But this will give you better cutting and cleaning of the sanding. We dry it off and we polish it. Again, with a Meguiar's polish, this helps bring out the brilliance, hides those sanding tracks, and this is the beauty step. But if you took shortcuts on any of the other steps, it won't work. Just polished it out. Didn't clean up that top. Okay, well, really it's cleaner up there than I thought. You saw that? That was almost a juggle for a fail. Now that is the piece we came in to see, isn't it? Now, I have a video on how to make these lids, so I didn't think I'd stretch this one out doing it. But the Lazilla carving that's on it, that's something pretty special. And that's a 3 bumps on 6 rows, 3 steps. You really have to understand it to understand it. Yeah, or something like that. Hey, what I want you to take away from this is the simple thing that this is an easy project. But you can't take shortcuts.
Shortcuts would be sanding and scraping to get it to be overall uniform. And it's a light scrape. Okay. Then when you start to finishing, the sealer is extremely critical. So critical that if you have a void in the sealer, it's going to come all the way through to the top coat and look like a blister or a blotch or a dull spot or whatever. And the last is get the ridges out. Seal it, coat it, sand it, get the ridges out, add some more super glue if you need to. But you only get one chance to make this thing absolutely positively gorgeous. Well, not really. I'm looking at it right now and I see a little ridge right there. I could squeeze it back on that chuck, on that glue block, wet sand it out a little bit, add a little more and go back to it again. Because there's nothing on this that I can't live with. And by the way, it's food safe. And after all the poisoning problems I had recently, 3 days after this is cured, do whatever you want to it. Now, this one's pretty sealed up. I could probably throw this in a tub of water and be okay. But it's all the processes, and I can't emphasize that enough. You find a shortcut, keep it to yourself, because it isn't going to work. Hey, I'm Captain Eddie Castle, and you join me today in my shop as we were making shavings. And I do like this wood. Next one I make, we're going to put a little red in there. How are we going to do that? Aniline dyes. Hey, I'm always working at something. You take care, be good. Did I tell you the commercial's coming up? Don't go away. Commercial's coming up. Okay, we're cheap. We don't have any music for the commercials. It's just a commercial. Big Guy Productions. www.eddiecastellan.com. We have got the carbide cutters. We have the cutters to fit your tool. Measure your tool. Go to my website. That's it right here. www.eddiecastellan.com and check for it. Look the cutters only page. You'll find cutters that fit most of that other guy's at 1/2 or less of his price. That's right, 1/2 or less of his price. So if you're looking for carbide, check me out. And if you're looking for a great sharpening rig, check out the Blackhawk. With that, now we have music. Ta-da! Ta-da! Well, real music.